Oh, whew. That was close. Oh. Oh. Oh, what's this? Oh, wow, seat's getting warm. Cool. Okay, let's try another button. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Catch a tiger by the toe.
Completely against my better judgment to really up my game in 2020 and produce higher quality content for all of you lovely folks at home, I've decided to kick off the year by making a video about toilets. Japan is seen by many as a country that is light years ahead of the competition when it comes to innovations in technology. And perhaps one of the most internationally recognised devices to have come from Japan is the electronic toilet. Although they've been commonplace in Japanese homes since the late 80s, most foreigners visiting the country have only ever heard rumours of this futuristic technology. Unless you live in Japan, it's probably not every day that you come across a toilet that has its very own control panel. And to make matters worse, 90% of the time all of the buttons are labelled only in Japanese. As our bathroom time is one of the last bastions of privacy in our daily lives, I'm here to make sure that the whole experience is as stress-free as possible. Just to make sure that you find your way there with no problems, let's start off with how to find a bathroom in Japan. Thankfully, the most commonly used word for toilet is the katakana version of the English word, pronounced toire. This will be used mostly in modern places like shopping malls, chain restaurants and train stations. Quieter places with less foreigners will probably stick with the Japanese word otearai. Te means hand and arai to wash, and the two words can often be heard together as the verb tearai, meaning hand washing. It makes sense then that the same word could also mean a place where you wash your hands, although the word is pronounced slightly differently as the additional o typically precedes the word when referring to a bathroom. Less common but still worth knowing is the more traditional Japanese word benjo. The first kanji ben can mean convenience, as seen in the word for convenient, benni. Slightly polarizing to that though, it can also mean excrement, as seen in the word for constipation, benpi. Jo is simply the kanji for place or location, so you can remember this word by thinking convenient excrement place. I think that has a pretty nice ring to it. While high-tech toilets are very common in Japan, a lot of older buildings still don't have them, and there's a good chance that you'll be dealing with a run-of-the-mill, boring old analog toilet. In this case, there's only two kanji you're going to need, and thankfully they're both super easy to remember. This kanji means small and comes from the word of the same meaning, chisai, but you'll always see it written on its own for the matter of simplicity. The opposite of that is this kanji, which means big and comes from the word oki. You'll find both of these kanji written on the handle, which, similar to many Western toilets, gives you the choice between a large or a small flush. So, with those two kanji in mind, let's now take a look at your basic control panel for a smart toilet. You may have noticed fairly quickly that they both appear on here too, but instead of a handle, the flush can be activated with the simple press of a button. However, while simplicity is the key here, if you don't know how to read Japanese, you might find this whole experience a little overwhelming. If you don't see the kanji on their own, then instead you'll probably see this phrase. I hope by now you already recognize the first kanji as small that we learned earlier. The rest of the word, nagasu, simply means to flush. Actually, this word has several meanings, which can usually be understood by the context of the sentence that it's used in, but perhaps my favorite meaning of nagasu is to banish, which certainly gives banishing your demons a whole new meaning. Again, in the same format as the previous phrase, you have the kanji for big and the word for flush combined together to mean big flush. I suppose for those more persistent demons, this might be your weapon of choice. Next up is perhaps one of the most important words of all, as it will certainly save you in times of impending doom after accidentally pressing the wrong button. Thankfully, we have another fairly simple kanji, which comes from the word tomaru, meaning to stop. While a single kanji is usually used on most buttons I've seen, you will sometimes come across the word teishi, which means something more along the lines of suspension, but this word is more commonly seen in relation to the suspension of services on a more formal basis, like a train coming to an emergency stop, for example. When it comes time to cleaning yourself up, there's a choice of 3 options, the first of which will be a standard water jet. This is usually indicated by the word oshiri, which is the Japanese word for butt. It can be spelled either like this with kanji or just with hiragana characters like this. For those of you that require a more delicate touch, then you could try the second option, which is less of a skin stripping jet, but rather a soft spray. This option is perhaps the one I tend to find can have the most variation of words or labels. So let's take a look at all the ones I've come across, just to be on the safe side. Mist translates into Japanese rather seamlessly as misto, but there's also mild or maildo, which is obviously pretty easy to understand as they are both loan words taken from English. Yawaraka is the most commonly used traditional Japanese word meaning soft, or you might also see oshiri softo, which you might have already deciphered as meaning ass soft. The third option is presumably mostly for the ladies out there. The bidet does exactly what you'd expect, and its pronunciation in Japanese is almost identical to the original French word, as it's spelt out with the katakana characters bidet. For all 3 of the previously mentioned washing options, you'll also be able to select the strength of the water pressure. Most systems have 3 levels of power, but it's not uncommon to see 4 or 5 as well. This dial might be indicated by the phrase洗浄強さ, or cleaning strength. The 2 important kanji to know here are this and this. The first comes from the word yowai, meaning weak, and the second from the word tsuyoi, meaning strong. With your pressure set, you next want to choose the right angle for the most premium clean, using the button that says洗浄位置. This is actually a compound noun made of the 2 words senjo, meaning washing, and ichi, meaning position. To change the angle of the jet, you need to use the 2 buttons labelled mae, meaning forward, and ato, meaning backwards. The final stage to this whole process is to set the temperature of the water. This option is usually indicated by the word ondo, which means temperature, but you might also come across the word onsui, meaning warm water. Switching this off is ill-advised, as having a jet of cold water blasted into your cavities during your most vulnerable moments is not such a pleasant experience. If you would like to adjust the temperature though, then you can scroll through the options with the 2 buttons labelled with this kanji, which comes from the word hikui, meaning low, and this one from the word hai, takai. In the winter, there's nothing worse than having to answer the call and being left with no other option than to place your bare ass on a stone-cold toilet seat. Thankfully, as an almost standard feature of the smart toilet, every model I've ever come across has had an electronically heated seat, easily activated by pressing the benza button. You may recognise our friendly kanji ben from earlier, and za is the kanji for seat. Oh, for fuck's sake. The heated seat usually takes a few minutes to get warmed up, so while you're waiting, you could try hitting the chanaru toroku button. This will easily safeguard you from any future boredom whilst taking care of business. Now we get onto some of the slightly less common features, well, at least from what I've seen, but some toilets even come equipped with speakers that will play sound to mask the audibility of your shame from anyone within earshot. To activate this feature, you need to press the Oto Hime button. When you break it down, this word is a little strange. The first kanji means sound, which so far makes a lot of sense, but Hime actually means princess, so the literal translation of this word would be sound princess. Very odd. As you might expect from any sound-based system, you'll also have the option to change the volume, which in Japanese is onryo. The volume buttons will be easily recognisable as they're usually marked with a plus or minus symbol. In situations where you went a little bit overboard at one of Japan's well-known tabi hodai all-you-can-eat buffets, you could deploy one desperate last resort, the power deodorizer. Power in Japanese is power, but deodorizer is a slightly different word, dashu. Probably not something you want to be doing while enjoying a family vacation, but perhaps you got yourself into a little bit of a mess and want to avoid any potentially mortifying exchanges with the hotel staff. Pressing the Nozzle掃除 button will extend the nozzle out and allow you to clean it. Nozzle quite obviously is nozzle, and掃除means to clean. To finish up, we'll take a look at 2 more miscellaneous kanji. These simply mean on and off, but could be seen next to a variety of different function buttons or could appear several times on one device. Most panels though have at least one button that will always feature these kanji. Labeled Dengen, meaning power source, this will just be what you're used to calling a power button, and pressing it will shut down the whole system, which is why it's usually hidden underneath a cover. If you do see this on the front of the panel, then you'll now know just to leave it be. So I think that just about wraps it up for how to navigate your way around Japan's futuristic toilets. As always, I've left a list of all the words mentioned down in the description for you to peruse at your own leisure. Are you a toilet veteran? What are some of the most unusual functions you've seen offered up by a Japanese toilet? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Kantan Japan, and hit the bell notification for instant updates on future videos. If you really like this video, then you could also consider supporting the channel on Patreon from as little as $1 per month. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.